Welcome everybody. Today we're going to go ahead and start unpacking the rest of the items. And this time I'm actually going to include also the motherboard. I do have another video, which I'll pop it somewhere over here. That one goes really in depth, and actually I had to break it down into several sections. But that one gives you a really good insight of not just that particular motherboard, but in motherboards in general. So this is the motherboard that I got. It is the Pro Z790, which is a chipset. It's equipped with Wi-Fi, but some of them don't have to, and the memory type that's capable of using. This particular motherboard is an Intel motherboard, so it means that it's not AMD compatible. It has a lot of good features, and like I mentioned before, take a look at my other video where I go really in depth. Okay, so taking a look at the motherboard, we quickly see that we have several heat sinks that are built into several components, as well as a heatsink for this particular memory card, SSD card for the operating system. This one is tied closer to the CPU for faster performance, faster accessibility. So either NVMe or SSD. You have see 4 of those here. You also have 6 SATA connections. You also have dual power input for the CPU itself. Now your power supply has to support that, of course. Let's see what else we have. You can also connect your LED lights. It has a built-in controller. You have 6 inputs for your fan. So if you have one of those cases that have several fans installed in it, or you want to install more, you also have that here on built in directly on the motherboard. This one is also capable of controlling your water cool system. That's also integrated into the motherboard. It has several USB connections for the case, as well as on the rear of the motherboard, as you can see here. You also have your antenna ports, your 7.1 audio channel. You have your DisplayPort and an HDMI port, as well as a 20 gig rear-facing Type C USB, among, of course, the other ones. This particular motherboard also has a flashable BIOS external feature, which means that you don't have to go into the operating system to flash the BIOS for whatever reason. This button over here puts the motherboard in a specific state. This particular motherboard also has, as you can see, 4 slots for memory. In this particular one, it's capable of reaching 128 gigs of memory capacity. Obviously, there are many different types of motherboards that have different capacities, but this one in particular, you can max it out at 128 gigs of memory. Let's see what else. In the case, you're gonna have your antennas, which I recommend plugging in before energizing the motherboard. You have a couple of data cables. You have your CD here, which most likely is going to have drivers for the motherboard as well as utilities. You also have a pair of booklets here with additional guidance and installation procedures, or perhaps details about the motherboard. Like I said, the previous video that I made, we go into really great details onto the motherboard, so you can get familiar with either this particular motherboard or motherboards in general. A lot of good information on that video. All right, so the power supply. This particular power supply, I chose an 850 watt, so we will have plenty of power. Yes, I could have gone 700, could have gone at 500, but since I have a well capable motherboard, I want to make sure that I don't choke it, because I have a power supply that doesn't give me that humph when I upgrade it, because I'm pretty sure that this is just a stepping stone. Further down the line, the less items that I have to replace, especially the power supply, the better. Because if I go ahead and install an 800 or a 700 series GPU, I don't have to worry about it, because my power supply will cover that. But if I would have installed a 500 watt power supply, and then I say, you know, let me just go ahead and just install a nice GPU card, then I will have to strip down everything out of the board. So I'm already ahead of the game. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up this box. Before I do that, let's go ahead and look at some of these stats here. One of the main things is that this is a gold series power supply, and among the other features that it has, the main thing is that by having that designation, it means that it is an efficient power supply, and that's what you want. You don't want something that it has an efficiency of a tricycle, okay? Where you're gonna have the power supply work much harder than it can actually produce. Obviously, that's gonna give you more heat into the system, and not mentioning that your power consumption is gonna be higher versus what you're actually supplying. So pretty much that's one of the main features of this particular power supply. Yes, it does have several power outputs for GPUs, which obviously that is very important. And in a lot of the power supply, high-end power supplies, we already have that. Now, this particular one you can plug in, I believe it's up to 3 GPUs, several different, it's going to tell you here what power it will be supplying depending what GPU you have, etc., etc. So that may vary between power supplies. So if you're going to be running more than one GPU, that's something you probably have to pay attention to. Otherwise, I think you should be okay with this particular power supply, but do pay attention. Depending what your vision is on the machine, and if you have any room to grow, it's better to go ahead and get the power supply that you're going to need. Okay, let's see. I know I'm still not using a knife, and I do have one. It's somewhere in a secure place, I bet. Okay, so let's see what we have here. All right. Let's see if we can accommodate this a little bit better. All right. So this particular power supply is a modular power supply. It does come with all the cables that you need. It does not have, or does not come with a set of wiring directly attached to the power supply. You actually have to plug in every cable that you need onto it, which I think may probably make an installation a lot cleaner, because there's a lot of parts of the power supply or a lot of peripherals that you may not need to run cables to, and if you don't need it, then you just simply don't use them, versus having a power supply that already has a spool of cable coming out of it. Well, now you're gonna have to deal with that extra cabling that you didn't need in the first place. So we have a 13.5 millimeter fan. As you can see, this pushes a lot of air, which you of course will need, not only for the cooling of the unit itself, but also for circulation. Not much really to see in the power supply, except that you need to be familiar with the cabling, not only the cabling provided here, but also the cables that you're gonna need to plug in either with your motherboard or your GPU. So you need to pay close attention and only run the cables that you need. If you don't have any GPUs, don't bother plugging in or running the GPU cables. It's just simply going to get in the way. It may restrict airflow, plus you have additional power running into those cables with nothing to consume it. So see what you have, see what you need, plug in just those cables. And as you can see, there are cables pretty much for everything in here. All right, so let's go ahead and put this back. Again, this is an 850 watt power supply, and my understanding is that this will be okay for an 800 series GPU card, specifically an NVIDIA 800 series GPU card, which at the time of this recording, that is just fine. All right, so next item up for bid, well, no, not really, is my storage. So what I'm gonna do is just to start, I'm going to install a simple, I'm not gonna go with an NVMe right now. Remember, this is a budget build. This is a 256 gigs solid state drive. The stats are not so bad. It has a read speed of 520 megabits and a write of 430 megabits. So the write and read are not too far apart, so bottleneck might not be that bad. There are other ones out there that's gonna have a write of 520 and a read of 300 or something like that, and that can create a little bit of a bottleneck. Lifespan is pretty good. It's over, I believe, 1 million reads and writes, and I believe that's in terabytes. So I'm pretty set with this, and I'm gonna use this particular one. This one is an inland SSD for my operating system. I do have other drives that I can use for long-term storage, and those are mechanical drives or spinning disk mechanical drives. But this one is going to be for my operating system, and it should be just enough. Okay, so before I put it away, let's go ahead and take a look at it actually. And it's just an external case with some labels in it. Not that I'm dragging this video longer than it needs to be, but it so happened that I have another one here, and this one is a 520 read, 320 write. So definitely I don't want to use this for the operating system. If it is for just testing or something like that, yeah, this will be fine. And I was very curious, and I actually opened it, and this is what is inside. Just a regular, memory card of some sort. I'm not quite sure, of course, what's all the details about it, but that's all what is inside. Let's go ahead and snap this together, and voila. As you can see, it's just absolutely the same size, same dimensions, same form factor and plugin. All right, moving on to the next one. I do have other items there, but that's for a different project, which I'll be recording that soon. Now the next item is going to be memory. I have a 32 gig kit, which means that each and one of these are 16 gigs of DDR4. Remember, this motherboard is suitable for DDR4. This one I can actually overclock, and it does have a it does come with heatsink around it, which is great. This is made by Corsair. This is made by Corsair, and it comes with a heatsink, which will allow me to overclock it if I want to. Not quite sure if I'm gonna do that. Maybe further down the road, but at least the memory sticks are compatible with that, and kind of sort of ready for it. This particular motherboard does support overclocking. Alright, so the next one is going to be the processor, the central processing unit. I chosen an i5 because it wasn't inexpensive. Remember, this was a build budget, and it provided me with probably more than I need at this point. It is a 10 core, and it also has video integrated into it, which means I can use the higher resolution that the motherboard can provide. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do that. 20 megs of level 3 cache, as well as an operating frequency of 3700, but it can also be boosted, I believe, to like about 4900 megahertz. It is capable of operating at a lower voltage, 120 watts or so, and of course, this one will provide enough processing power for what I intend to do. I'm not going to take it out of the package because I do not want to drop it or something worse, sap it. Okay, so next item and final item is going to be the heatsink. This particular heatsink is made by Be Quiet, and it has a pretty good efficiency dissipating the heat. These are the mounting brackets that will go onto the motherboard. Of course, the retainers. Let's see. Here is if it comes out. All right. Of course, it comes with instructional manuals, and we're going to put this to the side. And pretty much, obviously, it comes with its own fan. It is not illuminated. No, it is not illuminated. It's just a regular fan, which is, again, for this build, it will do just fine. As you can see, this is where we'll be sitting on top of the CPU. The fan will be installed on the side, most likely facing the back and pushing the air towards the back of the case. And you have another fan on the back of the case, also pushing air out. You don't want those to be fighting against each other, and most likely this will be the way they will be sitting on with the back of the case on this side. Now, of course, the other train of thought is that if you face it this way, this being the top of the case, and since heat rises, this will provide a natural path for it, having the fan blowing on this direction, and it will have a natural path for the heat to dissipate. And obviously the fan case will be over here blowing that way. Yes, that I can see that working. The only thing is that and we'll find this out once we install everything, how close to potentially a GPU card this will be near. So if you don't have enough gap between the CPU and a GPU card, then you're not gonna have that space behind the fan to actually draw enough air. So those are things that the only way to see how it's going to function, how efficient it's going to be, is once we start putting everything together. So let me show you the bottom half. And I'm really excited on getting started with this project, and not just for the outcome, obviously, but more for starting on our next one. Yeah, I know. I need to finish one first. Indeed. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this back in here. Okay. You have to make sure that the blades don't get bent or nothing like that, because of course it will stop the airflow. The same thing with anything that may get caught in it, like dust and so on and so forth, that this gets cleaned periodically. Alright, so pretty much that's all we have. In our next video, we'll go ahead and take all the parts that we have over here, run all the cables nice and neat, and start putting and pasting together all the pieces to the puzzle. And at the end, we should have a really nice, powerful machine, in which at that point I will reveal the total cost of the build. Until then, thank you for watching.